Hey guys, Ricky Widmer here, just with a quick little intro into the video before you get into today's mock draft, a little bit of an update. Think of this as the editor's edit to this video because between the early access release of this mock and the version you are about to see in just mere seconds, I noticed that I had left somebody out of my first round who should most definitely be in the first round, somewhere within it. And it's Davion Mitchell. Wanted to give the update now at the beginning of the video so that when we get to the end, nobody's like, Ricky, how the hell did Davion Mitchell not make it into your mock? It was definitely a moment where I realized it and I went, oh shoot, how the hell did I not put him in my mock? So wanted to just let you guys know this so that you're not puzzling why. And I'm actually going to reach out to you guys after watching the mock and how it kind of unfolds. Let me know what team should have either traded up for Davion, how the mock was going, or what team should have selected him in the mock. Let me know down in the comment section. But without further ado, let's get to the mock draft, and I hope you guys enjoy it. What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, and welcome into the next NBA mock draft. We are back doing mock drafts for the NBA. We took a little hiatus, had to worry about the NFL for a while, but now it's all NBA as we can put the NFL draft in the rearview mirror. We can just look at the NBA draft from now until the month of July. It's going to be great. We have a ton of mock drafts lined up for you guys. We're going to do them a little bit differently this year. If you're new to the channel, we used to do them where we'd have a podcast version where it'd be three of us giving our mock draft and then talking about it. We're going to still have those conversations on MVP Sports Live and on other podcast forums, but for the mock drafts, we decided to have it more personal, more kind of digest. Instead of a 3-hour podcast, it might be an hour and a half mock draft with one person. So it's going to be different people from MVP doing different mock drafts throughout the rest of the year. And I've got the next one. This is my 2.0. Dave and I did a 1.0 earlier in the year. This is the next one. This is my 2.0. A little bit of rules for this one because everyone's a little different. Number one, the order is not like, yet again, YouTube, you're going to see this after the play-in tournament. You are watching this on either the 24th or the 25th. I think the 24th is when we said it's going to go live. The play-in tournament's done, and some of the playoff games are already happening. But you may notice some of the play-in order is different. I recorded this before. I am sitting here in the past on the 18th of May recording this. So the playing games have not happened as I am recording this. So that's why some of the order may be mixed up there. I thought, hey, not a big deal. Number two is we're simulating the lottery. So what I did was I hit the button 5 times. I will reveal that order in a second. And yeah, it was just one of those things where we simulate the order. We go through the first round. I give you my picks. I kind of talk a little bit why. And the last thing is I'm not doing these as I was the GM. I'm trying to, the first ones are kind of a little tricky because it's a little mixture. It's like what I think the team will do mixed with my own personal big board rankings. As these mock drafts go on, we get kind of a clearer idea of what teams will want to do. So this one is what I think the team will do, but it's got a little bit of a mixed in because of personal big boards and such. Also, if you ever want to get our mock draft content early, a week before everyone else, check out patreon.com/MVPvids. That is how you can go and get everything a week ahead of time, like the mock draft. So go ahead, gold tier, $10 and up. You can get our mock drafts a week early, or just wait for them to post at the regular times. But before we get into everything, we got to do our lottery. And I pre-recorded a video, and I had to pre-record a video because there was no way that people were going to believe me. And the reason why is I'm a Bulls fan. If you're new to the channel, I am a Bulls fan, a diehard Bulls fan. I'm not upset if we lose our pick, but I'm kind of hoping we get one of the top 4 guys and keep our pick. A Cade Cunningham would be amazing. A Jalen Suggs would be pretty cool. Hell, even an Evan Mobley would be pretty damn dope. But yeah, if the Bulls end up in the top 4, no one's going to believe me. Like, especially Jake and JD out there. I know you're watching. I know you're saying, Ricky, it's all rigged anyways. And I would say, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's true. You know, maybe I am doing a little Adolph Silver here and rigging the draft lottery. But I recorded myself. I am going to play the footage. I'm going to talk over the footage too. But I'm going to roll the footage here of me doing. So how I did it was I was going to click the Tankathon button 5 times. So do 5 clicks. We had click 1, click number 2, click 3, click 4, and the final click. This is why I had it recorded, people. This is why I thought to record myself, because no one would believe if I put the Bulls at number 1 that I fairly did this. You guys see the footage. You're looking at it right now. I clicked the button 5 times. The Bulls just happened to end up at number 1. So there it is. You saw it. I saw it. Your grandmother saw it. Bulls are at number 1. I did it fair and square. Nothing here of collusion or fixing the lottery. I clicked the button 5 times. JD and Jake. There you go. But how we're going to do this is I've got loaded up my Real GM. This is the only draft simulator I've been able to find for the NFL. We did the ones from the Draft Network. And basically, we're going to go through the entire draft. I'm going to go pick by pick what I did. I have my spreadsheet in front of me of what I did. And yeah, we're going to kind of go through this. I will say, forgot to mention, I do have trades in this mock. For me personally, I know some people don't do trades. I do trades. It's realistic that way. Like, you're never going to have a mock draft where everyone is kind of like staying exactly where they are. So for me, I've got some trades in this one. So just to put that disclaimer out here, and we start at the top, the Bulls at number 1. I mean, does anyone not know who this pick is going to be? Like, Dave, slap of the wall, Dave, slap of the wall. It's Cade Cunningham. Like, you draft Cade Cunningham there at number 1. And before we go on to into the Raptors, I had this question. I asked this to our own Jake Neverman here at MVP. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? Is there a possibility? Like, you look at this order that we have. You can see it right here, where the Bulls were at number 1. The Pelicans were at 3. Now, this is a very, like, specific order that would have to happen, but is there a world that if this happened and the Bulls were at 1 and the Pelicans were at 3, Bulls fans, non-Bulls fans, is there a world where maybe we try to include the first overall pick to get Alonzo Ball, an established vet, and pass on Cade Cunningham? Jake called me crazy for even bringing up the question. You guys may think that it's an absurd question also. It's like, Ricky, take Cade Cunningham, you build around him. And I agree, Cade Cunningham would be the pick there, but it's a thought that crossed my mind, that it's how far is Cade off compared to like Alonzo Ball? And we know Alonzo Ball would fit perfectly with this Bulls team as is. I know some of you are probably hitting your head going, Ricky, Cade Cunningham would fit with this team as well. I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, is there a possibility where if this situation happens, then maybe there's a little trade talks there to go for a Lonzo instead of a Cade Cunningham? But yeah, I'm keeping the Bulls at number 1. Bulls are taking Cade Cunningham off the board. Then you go to the Raptors. And the Raptors, to me, there is a clear, like, and here's the reason why I didn't have the Bulls trade that pick is the only other player, if I'm getting Lonzo in that deal, the only player I want out of the top 4 then is Evan Mobley. And I don't think Evan Mobley goes past number 2. I think that if the Raptors are number 2, like they are in this mock, they're going with Evan Mobley. He is the second overall pick. And the reason why I say that is they drafted Malachi Flynn last year. And I know people like Dave Oster on the podcast have said that, oh, Malachi Flynn ain't nothing. Jalen Suggs is better. And I know that on many big boards, some people may have Jalen Green ahead. I do not. I have Evan Mobley as the number 2 on my big board, but this is one where BPA and need kind of match up to me, where I feel like the Raptors need more of that big. They need defense down low, and Evan Mobley is a guy who not just provides defense down low, but he can provide pick and roll opportunities, and he's comfortable playing on the outside. He's really going to be a great big in the NBA, I believe, and if I'm the Raptors, it's my patented line. I'm running that ticket up to the podium, and I'm basically taking Evan Mobley with the Toronto Raptors. That brings the Pelicans on the clock, and the Pelicans at 3, I think there's one thing that kind of decides this, and really it's the Lonzo Ball kind of decision. Are they going to trade him? Are they going to keep him? I think even if they trade him, they drafted Lewis Jr. last year. Like, Lewis Jr. is going to be their point guard of the future if they move on from Lonzo. So I'm sitting here going, I know that you can look at Jalen Suggs as kind of a combo guard, a point guard and a shooting guard, but I look at it here and I go, you know what? Even if you trade Lonzo Ball and you're kind of going through with this draft, Jalen Green is the pick here for the Pelicans. So right off the board, like Cade to the Bulls, Evan Mobley, like this is 1, 2, 3 off a big board for me. Jalen Green with the Pelicans. It's just BPA, plus it fits a need. I know there was one concern in my brain. I don't know if you guys let me know down below if you feel like Jalen Green and BI might clash with each other. I don't think so. I think you take the best player available. You took your point guard last year. You don't have to necessarily go with a Suggs over a Green. And I think a lineup, if you move on from Lonzo, if you don't, Lonzo's the one, but even like Lewis, Green, BI, Zion, and then hopefully Jackson Hayes develops into that center of the future, but you do have Steven Adams for right now. That brings up number 4, and the Rockets are just there, and they're like, you know what? Thank God we kept our top 4 pick, because the Thunder were sitting there. The Thunder were like this. They're like, licking them lips. Let's go ahead and get us another top 10 pick. The Rockets kept it, though, and to me, if I'm the Rockets, there's really 3 needs that you have here. You have really 2 needs, and then really the things that they should target is basically they need a ball handler, a primary ball handler. I know they got John Wall, but you heard Christian Wood this year. This team needs another primary ball handler on this team. They also need a versatile big to help out Christian Wood down low. And then the third option is just take BPA. And here, I think you're hitting 2 needs with 1. You're taking the BPA in Jalen Suggs in my mind. Plus, you're getting a guy who can be another primary ball handler for you guys. So Suggs would be the no-brainer here. And I think these top 4 were the no-brain. Like Cade to the Bulls, Mobley to the Raptors, JG4 to the Pelicans, Suggs to the Raptors. There was no thought in any of these. It was just plug, 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 plug. Then we got to the Pistons, and this is an interesting one. Piston fans, I want to ask you what you think, because my first thought was BPA, Jonathan Kuminga. I don't care if he overlaps with Sekou. Sekou Demboya is out. Jonathan Kuminga is in. Then I kind of was talking to Soapy here at MVP. He's a Pistons fan. And he was kind of saying, I was like, who would you want to draft at 5 if you were at 5 and the top 4 were off the board? And his answer was anyone but Kuminga. And I was like, whoa, okay, that goes against what I was doing, because I originally had Kuminga here. He then said and kind of made his case that Scotty Barnes would be the pick here. And because of that, usually it's one of those where, yet again, this is the kind of thing where it's like what they will do, what I do. This is kind of like a what we would do situation, because I don't know what the Pistons' plans are yet. Like, they have Sekou Demboya. Yes, he played out at the end of the season, had some good games. You traded for Hamidou Diallo, but yet again, Hamidou Diallo, is he the 2, 3 of your future, or are you going for a big? You going for a 4 or a 5. Scotty Barnes to me is an interesting prospect. I think he is going to be, and yet again, this may be a lazy kind of comparison. Everyone's kind of saying it. I think he may be the Patrick Williams of this draft. The player who is a good defensive player who kind of rises as we go up. People may have him at like 7th overall, but hey, he goes 4th overall because scouts like what they see from Scotty Barnes. So with this one, kind of took a little bit of advice here. I'm going to go with Soapy's pick. I'm going to go Scotty Barnes here. If you're the Pistons, you don't like, to me, I don't think you miss either way with Kuminga or Barnes. I know there's some Kuminga haters out there. Jake's one of them. Dave's one of them. I don't think Soapy is high on Jonathan Kuminga. I think Jonathan Kuminga is going to be a good NBA player. I think that people are just ragging on him for a couple bad games in the G League after he started out so hot. I think that he could be someone that will be a fine NBA player and that we're just kind of not overlooking, but kind of deep diving and nitpicking some things with Jonathan Kuminga. But that brings up the Orlando Magic, and I will say originally, my original mock with how this went out, if Kuminga was off the board, I had Scotty Barnes going, or I had Jalen Johnson going here. The only reason why I had Jalen Johnson, I believe, did I have Jalen Johnson? Now I have to think. Yeah, I did have Jalen Johnson. The only reason why is with Jalen Johnson, to me, there's the slight difference of he's a better shooter than you get with Scotty Barnes. And like, you look at the entire Magic team, and this is one where I'm like, okay, you know what? If I'm adding a big down low, I've got guys who can bang down low and play some defense. I need some guys who can stretch the floor. I need those stretch fours. So that's why I would originally went with Jalen Johnson. But now with Scotty Barnes off the board, you got Kuminga there. I think that Jonathan Kuminga is the guy that you draft here for the Orlando Magic. Because the one thing that the Magic have that's interesting is they got a plethora of young talent. They gave Markelle Fultz the contract. They're probably not going to take a guard early on because they have RJ Hampton, they have Cole Anthony, they have Markelle Fultz. You go down low, they trade for Wendell Carter, they have Mo Bamba, they've got Chumo KK. Jonathan Isaac should be coming back from injury this offseason. So then I really look at like the 2 and the 3, and really at the 2, it's like Terrence Ross will have that kind of man down. But you look at the 3, no more Evan Fournier. He's in Boston. Otto Porter, can't trust that back. I don't know why you'd want that for more games after this season. To where I kind of looked at that 3 position and I said, yeah, Jonathan Kuminga could be a guy that steps into Orlando and helps them out and can develop. Like, they're a team that they don't need someone that's ready right away. They can kind of develop because, to me, they've kind of got a hodgepodge of guys and need to kind of focus on, okay, who besides Jonathan Isaac are going to be our guys of the future moving forward? Because Jonathan Isaac is really the only if de facto right now after they traded Vucevic and Aaron Gordon away. That then brings up the Cavaliers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think this decision is easy. It's either Jalen Johnson or it's Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes, I think, is an interesting one for the Cavs. Originally, I had him falling to them, and I think he would work nicely with the Cavs. However, Jalen Johnson, here's the thing, and I'm going to say it again. My difference, like if we did a versus between Jalen Johnson and Scotty Barnes, is Scotty Barnes is defensively sound. He's not a shooter. He's more of a driver, a slasher. He'll bang in the paint, kind of a 4. Where you have Jalen Johnson, he's got the better shooting touch. Also has the defense, has the offense. I know that people say with Jalen Johnson, and Soapy and I had this discussion last night of Soapy's like, great, Jalen Johnson character issues going over to Cleveland. I don't think the stuff that happened at Duke is anything to kind of like, I don't think it's a big deal. That's basically how I'm going to put it. I don't think it's a big deal. And I think that obviously teams are going to interview him hard at the combine. They're going to ask him about it. They're also going to call Coach K. They're going to get his side of the story on it. And I think as long as he's honest with it and he nails it in the interviews, I think it's going to be a big deal. I just think it's one of those things where he was a top recruit coming out, thought he was going to get more play time. Coach K was like, no, bud. I'm going to do whatever we need to win. And then he said, fine, I'm out. I'm not going to play here and risk getting injured. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it'll be blown over. He'll be a great prospect in the NBA. Cleveland gets a nice stretch 4 to add to their lineup that they already have the Sexland. They have Okoro, Jared Allen. Now you can kind of put him in there. And that brings up the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the Thunder, to me, this is one where they're just picking talent. They're just picking BPA. And the one thing that I really wanted to look at with the Thunder and what I think that they will kind of target is the point guard position. Like if they get Cade, if they get Jalen Suggs, that's going to be nice, putting them next to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But there's a guy out there that I'm like, you know what? There's a point guard that I think would be perfect with the Oklahoma City Thunder. However, I don't think I'd take it. Like, I'd take him at 8, but it was one of those where I'm like, I think they can get him a little bit later. So this is where I had my first trade come in. And I have the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte Hornets, who are at 11, they're going to move up with the Oklahoma City Thunder. So you see the trade right there on your screen. The Hornets are going to get the 8th pick. They're going to move up to where the Thunder are. The Thunder are going to get the 11th overall pick this year, plus a first rounder next year. I put the lotto protected on it, mainly because if I'm looking at the Hornets, it's just one of those things where you're in the play-in tournament this year. You feel like you got a good team. You add one more piece this draft class. You're a team that's banging on the door to get into the playoffs. You're not a team that is looking to be in the lotto. So it's one of those to where it's like, hey, we expect to be in the playoffs, where if we're where we're going to be, you're going to get the pick. But just in case something happens, if LaMelo gets injured or Scary Terry gets injured, we have an insurance policy and we can keep our pick if we are in the lotto. Like, there's a part of me that was like, oh, top 10 protected. And I was like, you know what? Lotto protected is fine because the Thunder are a team that they're just looking to amass draft picks and try to give Sam Presti as much ammo as he can work with. So ignore what you see on my screen. We are no longer picking for the Thunder. We are picking for the Charlotte Hornets. And for me, I think there was a specific guy that they were trading up for. International prospect, gotta find him right here. And I hope I'm going to say the first name right, Alperen Sengun. I think he's the guy that they trade up for. Like, I think that he's obviously the best center on the board. The Hornets also have a need at center. They need a big guy bad. Bismack Biyombo is going to be a free agent. Cody Zeller is going to be a free agent. Do you really want those guys back if you're the Charlotte Hornets, or do you want to go and get, I know Sengun is young. I want to say he's 18 or 19. So really it's a young prospect. And I don't even know also, does he come over right away? But you get the best center in the draft class. You get a guy who has the skills to be successful in the modern day NBA. He's having a great season. I want to say he's playing in the Turkish league. Dave could help me out with that one. He's kind of like our international basketball specialist, as he's kind of a junkie for all those. But he's having a great season. I think the Hornets target a big man. They go up, they trade for Alperen Sengun. Doesn't matter if they give up a pick next year because you're in the playoffs if you're giving that pick up. Then we get to an interesting pick, and the T-Wolves lost their pick. They fall all the way to 9. And the Warriors are like, thank you for that draft pick. Warriors will now have 2 picks in this first round. And with the Warriors here, I feel like there was a couple different ways they could go. The reason why I had the Hornets trade up for Alperen Sengun is I know the Warriors took Wiseman, but I think Segun could be one that they look at and go, okay, how would he fit in our system? He's one guy. The Kings also are a team I feel like would take Segun, and you see them right there. They're sitting at 10th overall, so I don't think he would have even gotten to the Hornets. But Warriors on the clock here. Couple different guys I like, but the one that I really like for the Warriors here is kid out of Michigan, Franz Wagner. And Franz Wagner is one where, let's see, where do they have him? See, this is another thing. Finding these prospects on Real GM's best available. It's going to be difficult sometimes. So we'll go to forwards. We'll see if he's in forwards. Is he not in forwards? Wow, I am really, really messing this one up, guys. Let's see if they've got him over here. Do they not have him? They've got to have Franz Wagner. It's Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner is the pick. I don't know why they do not have him here. This is just absurd. Why can't I find Franz Wagner? What is going on with me? Why am I missing it? There it is. They got him really fucking low. But yeah, Franz Wagner is the pick for the Warriors. And the reason why I love him with the Warriors is he's a guy that has the shooting ability, and he's also a guy who can defend, I think at his potential, can defend 2 through 4 in the NBA. And that would be great. You plug potentially, like I'm not saying right away, I'm talking about potential here. If he's a guy that you can have it to where a starting line, like rotations too, but like even if you want to throw out a starting lineup of backcourt with Steph, Clay, and then Franz, you could have a backcourt where it's like, you know what? Or fuck, Wiggins is still there. Really, Steph, Wiggins, Clay, and then like I don't know. You put Franz at the 4, but you know what I'm saying. He's versatile, can defend 2 through 4. They can use him in rotations. He'll fit in that system because of how well he is as a shooter as well. Adds the shooting, adds the defense. Kind of can do, I don't want to say he could do the same things as Klay Thompson, because Klay Thompson is really fucking good at what he does. But, I mean, if he can shoot the ball well, play defense against guards, or against 2s, 3s, and 4s, then I think he'll fit in with the Warriors. That's why I have him going there at number 9. Then we get to the Sacramento Kings. And the Kings kind of have a dilemma here. Because they were sitting there going, man, Segun would be perfect. And the big need that I think that the Kings have is like Franz Wagner would have been great for them. I will say this, and this is my disclaimer now. Franz Wagner is a guy that after he was taken between like, what was that, 9 and 16, there were several teams where I was like, fuck, if Franz Wagner was here, he'd be the pick for them. And I think the Kings would look at it and go, hey, Franz Wagner would be BPA and fit a need for this team. The other need I think this team has is a big, like, Holmes, is he going to come back this year? Bagley has not been what you wanted. You need a big down low, and maybe 10. Maybe 10 is a little bit of a reach, because right now you got Kai Jones, you got Isaiah Jackson out there. Those are kind of the two you're thinking about. I actually got another trade here. I got the Kings moving back, and I have another Western Conference team moving up. So I got the Grizzlies and the Kings striking a deal. The Kings are going to get the 14th overall pick from the Grizzlies and also a first-round pick next year via the Jazz. The Grizzlies have their own pick. They have the Jazz pick next year. I believe there is a protection on it, but let's be honest, I think it's like top 8, and the Jazz are not going to finish in the top 8. It was pretty much one of those where I looked at it, and I was like, that pick is going to convey. So the Kings would not only move back a little bit, they would also get a pick for next year, get some more ammo for future drafts so they can keep building this team through the draft. And really then that puts the Grizzlies on the clock, not the Kings. Ignore the logo yet again. And the guy I have them moving up for is Moses Moody. And Moses Moody is a guy where we've talked about on the podcast, like you look at his stat sheet and you go, really, what does he do well? And then you kind of watch him and you go, oh, that's what he does well. He plays some defense. He's kind of an off-ball scorer. And he's a guy that I feel like in rotations could fit nicely next to Ja Morant. Because Ja Morant's your main ball handler with the Memphis Grizzlies. Moses Moody doesn't need the ball in his hands to be successful. He's also a guy that it's like, okay, I'm not scoring today. I'm going to get involved in different areas, whether it's on defense, whether it's rebounding, whether it's just being pesky on the offensive or defensive sides. Like, he's a guy that is all team first. And I really liked watching him this year at Arkansas. I think the Grizzlies, this would be a little bit of I know Grizzly fans would be like, but we're giving up some assets to move up. Yet again, this is like the Hornets. This is a team, you're in the play-in tournament this year. You want to be fighting for the playoffs. You want to get into that playoffs year after year and then kind of extend up in the standings. So I think this is a kind of risk that you go ahead and take. Go up, I didn't want to say an established guy, but get a guy that can help you right now rather than stay where you're at and kind of pick the best available from there. Then we get to the Thunder. Ignore the Hornets. This was the Thunder pick. Remember, I'll flash it up again. Thunder got this pick in the trade with the Hornets. And this is one where the Thunder go ahead and get their guy. They are going to go ahead and take the point guard out of Australia, Josh Giddey. This is one that, I want to see either Cade Cunningham, Jalen Suggs, Josh Giddey, one of these top 3 point guards in OKC. I want to see them play next to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think Josh Giddey would be great next to Shai. This is one where it's like, okay, we're going to take you, we're just going to plop you in, and we're just going to let the potential go. We're just going to let it kind of play out in OKC, because OKC is not a team that's like, we need to win now. They're trying to hit on potential picks in this draft, in future drafts. They've got numerous picks throughout the year, kind of going, I want to say reverse Sixer style, but pretty much Sixer style by acquiring all these draft picks, except they're not just sucking for year after year. They're kind of going out and trading for them, Sam Presti style. But yeah, Giddey would be a great pick. That's why I kind of had him trade back. You could take Giddey at 8. I know some people like Jake have him higher on the board, but you know what? I go ahead and I say, hey, trade back, you get some assets. Thunder love getting those picks. And then you take Giddey at number 11. Then we get to the Spurs, and this was a bullshit pick. I hate it. I hate this pick. And the reason why I hate it, this was the first one where I looked at and I went, man, I would have really loved Franz Wagner here. I would have really loved to draft Franz Wagner. Then I was like, man, I would have really loved to draft Segun here. And it's like, he's gone. So I looked at the Spurs and I went, they need a big. Like, LaMarcus Aldridge is gone. They need that hole to be filled. And this is kind of where the debate of Kai Jones and Isaiah Jackson comes in. Kai Jones is obviously the higher rated forward out of the two. But the thing that I'm kind of disparaging between them is Kai Jones, you're going to have to work on that outside game with him. Isaiah Jackson has more of a shot. So really it's okay. Which one do you want? I feel like the Spurs would go with Kai Jones. He would be the one that kind of fits their team. Guy who can bang down low, play defense down low, play kind of like that Spurs basketball, and then just see if they can get the shooting out of him at the 4. Plus Isaiah Jackson all the way up here at 12. That would be a huge reach. They would have to trade back. And I will say, I did explore options to get the Spurs to trade back, but like looking at my mock, I'm like, okay, who's available? Who would want to trade up for who? I didn't see any deals working out, so I just took best available at what I think they would go with. Kai Jones was the pick for the Spurs. Then that brought up the pick for the Pacers, and this is one where the Pacers need to decide where they are going to go. What are they going to do? Are they going to go with Sabonis? Are they keeping Brogdon? Are they going to keep their coach after this season? Like, what is the direction of this team? I am thinking they keep it all together as of right now because we don't really have anything that tells us that they're doing anything different. And for me, it's either you get a big, which yet again, two of them are off the board, like Kai Jones would have been an okay pick here for them. Franz Wagner would have been amazing for them right here. I kind of go with that defensive side, though. And I'm going to go with, let's see if I can find his name. I'm going to go with Jared Butler. And the reason why I'm going Jared Butler is you've already got Brogdon on or you've got Malcolm Brogdon on this team. You can move him to the 2, have Butler play the 1, and really it's one of those things where you're just adding defense and adding a defensive player next to Brogdon, adding that backcourt defense, and then you're like, okay, we're going to try to fix our front court either in free agency or later in the draft if they do have a second-round pick. Don't know that off the top of my head. I think they do have a second-round pick or maybe a couple of them. But then at 14, logo says the Grizzlies, but remember, we had a little trade here, flashing that graphic yet again for you guys. The Kings moving down, giving the Grizzlies the 10th overall pick. And here the Kings, I think they go with a, now some people may say, Ricky, it's a reach. You already talked about how it's a reach, but I have them going with Isaiah Jackson. And the reason why is they need a big. They need someone. I think they're going to be able to keep Holmes in free agency. He'll be the 5. Bagley hasn't worked out. You got to go ahead and get him kind of out of there, really, because I don't think he's going to work in Sacramento. Isaiah Jackson is a project. Yes, he is. However, I look at it and I look at the tools he has. Defensively, he's got potential. He's got a shot already, so you don't have to work on that a whole lot. He's got things that this Kings team could use now and develop for the future. So that's why, yeah, it might be a little bit of a reach, but hey, they traded down, got some assets, and then went ahead with Isaiah Jackson. Before I get this Wizards pick, I'm going to drink some, as Jake says, some Atlantic Ocean. Oh, beautiful. The Wizards at 15. This is one where the Wizards could go in a couple different situations. Right now, if you look at what my draft is doing, we have 3 bigs off the board. So I don't think they reach for Usman Garaba would be the top one that would be available. I actually had them going with defense here. Kind of a pure kind of defense pick. I had them going with Keon Johnson, a guy who can add defense at the 1-2 position. He can add that backcourt defense, add that onto Russ. Plus, if you move Beal, you can work Keon Johnson in as the 2 next to Russ, so that Russ can be the main ball handler. Keon Johnson can do his defensive thing. Plus, you kind of had the double point guard thing for Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer working out in Tennessee, so you can kind of have that with the Washington Wizards if you want to develop Keon into that for the Wizards. Then you got the Celtics. They could go a couple different ways, pardon me. Like, they can go Corey Kispert if they want to just go with a shooter. Franz Wagner would have been good here. They really could use a big. Fuck it. They can go with Usman Garaba if they really wanted to. But I had them passing on all of that. I had them going with a guy in. Now, I have ragged on him the entire draft process only because I do not think he is the 3rd best point guard. And that's where he was being mocked and put on big boards as the 3rd best point guard in the class. But I'm going to go ahead and have them take a guy in Jaden Springer out of Tennessee. So I have the 2 Tennessee guys kind of going back to back. I think Jaden Springer could be a guy that right now with the roster that's constructed can be someone that Brad Stevens uses as a rotational piece, but then if they move pieces on, could develop into a guy that is good defensively and offensively, fitting in with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So I've got the Celtics going with Jaden Springer. Then that brings up the Warriors yet again. I think this pick is too easy for them. They're like Corey Kispert's there. If there is one team that Corey Kispert fits on the best, it is the Golden State Warriors. Like, you're taking a guy that you're like, oh, you're a great shooter in college. Just put him on the Warriors. That's, yet again, could be a lazy kind of analysis here, but yeah, I looked at it and I'm like, that'd be a great draft for the Warriors. They got Franz Wagner early on. They get Corey Kispert late. They add some defense and some shooting with Franz. They add some shooting with Corey Kispert. It'd be great for the Warriors. The rich kind of just keep getting richer. Then the Thunder, this is their pick via the Heat. I have them going to the International yet again. And they are going to go with the front court this time. I got them taking Usman Garaba. And really the Thunder in this draft, they just get a guy in Giddey that they can plug in next to Shea. Usman Garaba is a guy where defensively he's there. You love his attitude and his ability in the defensive end on the front court side of the basketball. You got to develop his offense, though. That's the big thing. His offense kind of needs to be rebuilt and kind of built from the ground up, where his defense is already there. So you love that from the Thunder. You take him yet again. Don't care if he's a project, because you're just trying to hit on these potential picks and kind of build your team through the draft. This could be one where I'm not saying he's Joel Embiid, people, but where it's like, you look at the Sixers, Joel Embiid didn't come in, it's like, boom, he's what he is today. It took him a couple years. Garaba and Giddey might be the same way, where it's like, hey, you come in, you take about 2-3 years to get everything going. That's where the Thunder are right now. So I have them going with 2 high potential picks, with both their picks in the first round. Then we get to 19. You see the logo there. It says New York Knicks. However, I have another trade. And my trade this time is the Knicks will be giving their 19th selection to the Los Angeles Lakers. So Lakers are going to move up. They're going to give the Knicks a first round this year, their 23rd overall pick this year, so a pick swap. And because they don't own their pick this year, it's with New Orleans, they will be giving up their pick in 2023. So basically, how that would work is right now in 2023, the Pelicans get the more favorable of the 2 picks. So like if the Lakers have a higher pick than the Pelicans can say, we'll take that pick, you get ours. So basically, instead of it being a pick swap with the Lakers would just give that pick to the Knicks, and it would be basically, hey, you're going to take whichever pick we get out of that, you're going to get that pick. So the Knicks are going to add a 2023 future pick. They're going to move down in the draft, as they already have another second later on. And the reason why I have the Lakers moving up is there's a guy who's fallen in my draft, and that is James Bouknight. This is somebody who I think will be a faller on draft night right now. Interesting thing is, how far does he fall? That is the question. I feel like at 19, the reason why the Lakers would trade up for him is, first off, Lakers don't care about their draft. They are all in on LeBron James. LeBron James even tweaked his ankle. You got to go all in on LeBron even more. You might not have that much time with him. But Dennis Schroeder is going to be someone hitting free agency, and I think Bouknight could be someone that you draft to come off the bench. Alex Caruso is also another guard who is going to hit free agency. I don't know if you worry about him leaving as much as you do Dennis Schroeder, but if you lose Schroeder, you lose that scoring off the bench. Bouknight could be someone that adds that extra scoring off the bench as well for the Lakers. Then that brings us to the Atlanta Hawks. And the Hawks here, I have them going with basically pure 3 and D from the 2-3 position. I have them going with Chris Duarte. Let's see if I can find his name here. Let's see, where is Chris Duarte? Are they not going to have... Please let... Yet again, that's my only kind of gripe so far with this is I wish they had the typing thing that NFL Draft Network has. There it is. Chris Duarte. Main reason why I'm going Duarte for the Atlanta Hawks is the Hawks are one of those teams where you're a playoff team. You just need to add BPA around this team and really just add defense around Trae Young. Duarte's no slouch offensively, but he can add some shooting on the outside. He can add some defense around Trae Young. You just try to add as much defense. Hope Chris Dunn has a healthier season next year. Then you basically have DeAndre Hunter, Chris Duarte, Chris Dunn. You're adding these defensive pieces around Trae Young to fill in for his defensive inefficiency. That's the right word if I can speak English. Then the Knicks are on the clock with their pick that they got from the Kristaps Porzingis trade. And there's really two things that I feel like three things that I think the Knicks could target in this draft. One is a big, defensive big. Two, a point guard, a ball handler, because they're going to be possibly losing Frank and Elfrid Payton in free agency unless they bring them back. And then shooting. So for me, because of the next two picks, you see right there, it says next pick, Houston Rockets. The reason I am doing this pick is because of that. And I'm going with the big man. Oh, do they not have... Oh, they have him under forward, don't they? I'm going with Neemias Queta out of Utah State. Please tell me they've got Queta on here. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to pick someone random and just have it be there. Come on, they've got to have Neemias Queta on here. Really? They don't? They don't. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is, yes, I'm going to put Kai Soto there. Kai Soto ain't the pick. Neemias Queta is. Queta's defense is amazing. Like, he can block shots like no other. Put him next to Julius Randle. I think that having then him and Mitch Rob kind of switching off with Julius, or you kind of switch off and have maybe Mitch Rob and Neemias at the same time, add that defense down low. I think that'd be great for Tibbs and the Knicks. You look at what Tibbs was able to do in Chicago when he had a great defensive center down low in Joakim Noah. Then you have the Rockets, and like I said, the Rockets had three needs three strategies, I should say. Primary ball handler, versatile big, and then BPA. The versatile big, maybe they should have tried to trade up for either an Isaiah Jackson. I think he'd be a nice pick for them. And they have two picks here. Possibly could have happened. I didn't see a trade working out. So I'm just taking the best big off the board for them. And that's going to be Greg Brown out of Texas. Greg Brown III. He's one where he really doesn't have an outside game, more of an inside guy, has some good defensive skills, but you would have to work on that outside game with him. But you can add I don't want to say versatile big, because he's not, if you don't have that outside game, you're not versatile. It's just BPA for the 4 position, the 3-4, more of a 4 for Greg Brown. So you add that big down low. Then the Knicks, they come back here. Yet again, I will flash it once again. Knicks and Lakers making their deal. The Knicks are now here at 23. And I've got them adding shooting here at 23. They're going to go with Trey Mann out of Florida. Some might see this as a reach, but I feel down here, and especially in this draft, because the talent is so close. that teams are going to fall in love with guys and they're going to say, I don't care. We're going to take him here at 23 because that's the guy I want to go ahead and take. I think the Knicks go ahead and take Trey Mann, add some shooting because he is a good shooter, can play off ball for them, can play with Emmanuel quickly in some rotations. However, I don't want to say that he's like a for sure point guard, more of an off ball. He can create with the shot in his own hands, but what I would really want to work on him being is kind of shooting off ball, having Emmanuel quickly out there, maybe even trying to get a facilitator later in the draft. Then you got the Rockets. This was easy for me, personal BPA, and that's Josh Christopher. Where you got your ball handler and Jalen Suggs earlier on. You got your big. Now you just go with BPA. And Josh Christopher would be my BPA for them off the board there. So that's kind of an easy peasy kind of pick for me. Then the Clippers. I have them going with my personal favorite prospect in this draft. And I have them going with, let's see here if I can find him. Oh, he was a junior, not a senior. I have them going with Ayo Dosunmu. And Ayo's a guy where I feel like he is a first-round talent. I know there's some people that believe he's a second-round talent. I think there's a couple teams down here that he'd be a good fit for. I think the Rockets, if the Rockets wanted to take him, he'd be a good fit for them if they thought he was BPA at 24. The Nets, the Clippers, the Lakers, kind of all these playoff teams that need a kind of scorer off the bench. I think Ayo would be great for them, and that's why I got the Clippers snagging Ayo up, because not only would he be my next BPA, he would work great with the Clippers. Coming off the bench, playing with Luke Kennard, kind of giving them a scoring boost off that bench. And he's a guy where it's not just scoring. He can rebound the ball too. He can pass a little bit. So he's a guy I really like with that Clippers team. That then brings up the Nuggets, and I'm going to give the Nuggets some shooting at the forward position, just adding a shooter at the 2-3 for them in Cameron Thomas out of LSU. Let's see, do they have him under a guard? Let's see, yeah, they have him under a guard. So Cam Thomas, I'm going to add him to the Denver Nuggets, kind of give them some shooting from a nice shooter in college. LSU hit some good shots, can hit some great shots for the Nuggets. The Nets, I had a problem with this pick. I had a hard time with the Nets pick, and the reason why is I don't think they make the pick. I think they trade it. Like, there are some of these picks might not even be made by the teams that I'm making because they may be trading out of them, but the Nets are one I think they could trade out of this pick. I couldn't find a deal for it. There was one I looked at, maybe the Grizzlies getting in to kind of take a Zaire Williams or who was it? It wasn't Joel Ayayi. I think it was Zaire Williams was the one I was looking at for the Grizzlies, but I couldn't find a deal. Like, that's the thing. Usually there's deals where it's like, hey, we'll give you this player, but the Nets don't have any they don't have any cap space to work with. So, I mean, they're one that would probably want to find a secondary ball handler, a scoring guy off the bench, or a defensive big to add down low. I went with the ball handler. I went with Joel Ayayi out of Gonzaga. Yet again, might be a reach to some people, but yet again, like I said, I don't think the Brooklyn Nets are the ones making this pick at the end of the day. Then the 76ers. This one was easy for me only because the 76ers are a team, they don't really have a for sure kind of a need. Like, they're kind of a set team to where they can just take someone to sit on and develop. And I think they go with the big. I think Day'Ron Sharpe, adding him to that team, kind of working him as a big, kind of adding him to the plethora of young bigs that they're adding with now Paul Reed and then Day'Ron Sharpe. I think he's the easy option there for the 76ers at, what would that be, 28. Then you have the Suns. This was one where I looked for the Suns, but there was a guy who's falling who personally I don't believe is a first round talent, but because there was another team that could possibly use a ball handler, I had the Phoenix Suns trade their pick to the New York Knicks. So the Knicks basically took both their second rounders. They traded up. They 32-58. That's going to Phoenix. 29 is now in the hands of the New York Knicks. And that's where the Knicks take Sharife Cooper. Sharife Cooper's a guy where personally I ain't sold on him. I think he's a little small, and I was not impressed with the games I saw at Auburn from a season as a whole. But I do have him going to the Knicks at 29, thinking they'll sneak up, take a little bit of a ball handler because he's kind of fallen from most people's big boards. Then the Jazz, this was kind of like, this is one where Utah fans, I wish I had more for you. But basically, I just looked at it and I said, you know what? Let's give him a 3-and-D guy. Let's add some 3-and-D to this team. I went ahead and I looked, and I went with Trey Murphy the third. Let's see if I can find him here on Real GM. Are they not going to let me have him? Wow, they're not going to have Trey Murphy on here as well. So no Queta, no Trey Murphy from Real GM. Okay, here's Trey Murphy. They have him under guard for some reason. So I had Trey Murphy going to the Jazz at number 30 to end our first round. Before we go into everything, I know that the order was there, but I had a little nicer graphics to show you. So all the order straight through one more time. We got the Bulls at 1 taking Cade Cunningham. The Raptors at 2 going Evan Mobley. Pelicans at 3, they go JG4. As at number 4, Jalen Suggs goes to the Rockets. Scotty Barnes at 5 going to the Detroit Pistons. Jonathan Kuminga at 6 goes to the Orlando Magic. Jalen Johnson at 7, he's a Cleveland Cavalier. The Hornets trade up with the Thunder. They take Segun out of Turkey, I believe it is, at 8. Then you have Franz Wagner at 9 going to the Warriors. Moses Moody at 10 as the Grizzlies trade up for him from the Kings. Moses Moody going to the Grizzlies at 10. Number 11, Josh Giddey, Thunder trade back, take him at 11. Kai Jones going to the Spurs at 12. Butler going to the Pacers at 13. Isaiah Jackson, Kings trading back, taking him at 14. Keon Johnson goes to the Wizards at 15. 16, Jalen Springer going to the Boston Celtics. Corey Kispert going to the Golden State Warriors at 17. 18, Usman Garaba going to the Thunder. 19, Lakers trading up for James Bouknight. 20, Chris Duarte going to the Atlanta Hawks. And then the final 10, Namitas Queta going to the Knicks at 21. Greg Brown going to the Rockets at 22. Trey Mann to the Knicks at 23. Josh Christopher to the Rockets at 24. 25, Ayo Dosunmu to the Los Angeles Clippers. Cam Thomas at 26 to the Denver Nuggets. Joel Ayayi to the Nets at 27. Day'Ron Sharpe to the Sixers at 28. Sharife Cooper, Knicks trade up with the Suns. They take Sharife Cooper at 29. And then the Jazz round out our mock draft, taking Trey Murphy III out of Virginia with that pick. Couple things I want to say. Number one, this has been a doozy. Sorry, my voice kind of went in and out. A little bit of coughing from talking too long. I had to take some water. Also, it is effing hot in my room right now. I am sweating so much. Basically, through the middle of this video, all I have done is sweat. So I apologize for that if you saw me keep wiping my head off, having to wipe the sweat off my forehead. But that does it for my 2.0. Remember, as always, let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Do you like your team's pick? Do you not like your team's pick? Were there any picks where you're like, I kind of don't get it, Ricky. What were you doing here? Love the conversation. Add that down below. If you want to have more NBA conversations, don't forget to join the MVP Discord. It is truly the greatest community in the universe. That link is in the description. If you want to get these mock drafts early in the future, go ahead and subscribe to us on Patreon, gold and up. So $10 a month gets you these videos a week early if you want to see them a week early. Otherwise, you get them when they normally post. So that is going to do it for this mock draft. Thank you for being as great as you always are, as awesome as you always are. We will see you in the next one. And as always, have a good day, everybody.